We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines. As 2025 comes to a close, a wave of political, legal, and governance issues dominated the national agenda, reshaping public discourse and testing institutions across the country.
Hospitals are on standby for a possible increase in firecracker-related injuries this year.
And Congressman Leandro Leviste may face ethics complaint over alleged illegal acquisition of Cabral files.
First in the news, the Department of Health reported a decline in firecracker-related injuries in the week leading up to New Year's Eve compared to last year. From December 21 to 30, 140 injuries were recorded nationwide, down 23% from the 182 cases reported during the same period in 2024. Children remain the most affected, accounting for 68% of victims, while adults make up the remaining 32%. The department identified 5-star, Boga, and various unidentified firecrackers as the leading causes of injury.
Jose R. Reyes Memorial Medical Center in Manila is on standby for a possible increase in firecracker-related injuries this year. For the latest, we have mobile journalist Merimon Reyes on the ground. Merimon, kumusta na ang sitwasyon dyan?
Angela, Angelo, good morning. Advanced Happy New Year. So far, despite na naka-code white lahat ng mga DOH hospital, especially dito sa Kamaynilaan, ngayon from December 21 until December 31 so far, dito sa Jose R. Reyes Memorial Medical Center, 15 fireworks-related injuries pa lang ang kanilang naitatala. And so far sa mga ito, hindi pa, so far mga minor pa lang naman daw yung mga injury. Meron lang may isang case lang sa bilang na ito na kinailangang putulin yung dulo ng pinky finger. 12-year-old boy ito. And mabilis din naman daw na na-discharge ang bata at nabigyan din ito ng anti-tetanus shot. Ang inaasahan dito ng mga doktora, ang nasabi sa atin ni Dr. Cynthia Versosa, siya ang chairman ng Emergency Services Complex dito sa JRRMMC, around mamayang midnight, kasagsagan daw ng mga pagsisindi ng mga paputok at pagsalubong ng bagong taon, inaasahan yung pagdagsa ng mga pasyente. At karamihan sa mga kaso na to nanggagaling sa paggamit ng mga illegal na paputok.
Merimon, may dedicated section ba or na additional manpower just for yung mga firecracker-related injuries? Kasi alam ko, tuloy-tuloy pa rin. Magkakaroon pa rin ng babantay nila yung mga heart, mga stroke, tapos meron yung pulmonary.
Oo, tama. Last year kasi around 118 yung naitala nila from December 21 to January 5. Ngayon, so far, sa same period, medyo mababa pa. 15 pa lang yung bilang nila. Pero dito sa likuran ko, ang naituro sa atin, meron sila dito mismong triage. And dito sa side na to, ang pinaka-i-handle nila dyan, mga minor to mild and moderate cases. Pero yung mga posibleng kakailanganin daw ng emergency care, kung kailangan siyang ipasok sa surgery operation, dito naman ipapasok. So may triage dito, and mamaya yung ilang mga doktor na nasa loob nito, lalabas mag-i-extend sila dito, lalo't alam nga nila, within the night, posibleng hindi lang sa mga fireworks yung mga injury na pupunta dito, kasama na nga rin dyan yung posibleng mga atakin sa puso o yung iba naman kung sakali raw, nasabi ni sa atin, mga hihikain dahil sa pulbura o sa usok na manggagaling naman sa mga paputok. So ngayon dito sa likuran natin, mapayapa pa, kalmado pa naman yung mga tao dito. Pero ang nasabi rin sa atin ni Doc Versosa, over 50 na mga doktor ang nakabantay ngayon. And since ang code white sila, pag sinabi kasi yung code white, hindi naman daw dapat dito ma-alerto ang mga tao. Ang ibig sabihin lang daw nito, on high alert ang mga ospital sa kahit na anong casualty na mga aring lumabas mula sa mga mass gathering, sa mga celebration, tulad ngayon ng bagong taon. At ang ibig sabihin din ng code white, despite na 50 na yung naka-standby dito ng mga doktor, kapag kakailanganin para ng additional manpower, mabilis daw na makakapagpatawag pa sa ospital na ito.
Okay, so just to be clear, balikan ko lang yung sinabi mo kanina, meron na ba tayong mga naitala dyan na firecracker-related injuries dyan mismo sa ospital na yan? At ilang taon yung mag-range? Kasi nga, di ba, na-issue ngayon or kumbaga nire-report ni Secretary Ted Herbosa na medyo mga bata talaga ang natatamaan ngayon ng mga paputok.
Angela, 15 so far from December 21 hanggang sa araw na ito, 15. And karamihan sa mga ito, 5-star at triangulo ang bilang ng mga injuries dito, 4. Ang King Kong, 3. Ang plapla, ang firework-related injuries na may kinalaman dito, 3. May mga unknown pyrotechnics, 2. Yung sa Bawang, yung sa Quitis, yung sa Bin Laden, tig-iisang kaso ito. Pero so far, mga blast burn at no amputations pa, except lang doon sa kinailangan daw putulan yung dulo ng pinky ng 12-year-old boy. Karamihan sa mga ito, mga menor de edad. At ang kasama pa nga, yung isa sa mga binabantayan nila dito is yung recovery naman ng 12-year-old na lalaki na kabilang doon sa siya, yung kaibigan niya kasi yung kalaro niya sa Tondo, yung namatay dahil doon sa paggamit daw ng piccolo at saka reportedly ng big triangle. Pero itong nasugatan lang, ang nangyari daw, merong natanggalan ng balat sa balikat. So nilinis, sinaksakan daw siya ng anti-tetanus shot, and then nilagyan ng dressing para makarecover yung balat. Ang binabantayan nila dito is kung maaari nang mailabas, ma-discharge ang bata o kaya ilipat na siya sa ibang unit. Pero so far ngayon kasi nasa ICU pa ang batang ito. So yun yung ilan sa mga binabantayan nila dito, plus yung pagdagsa ng mga pasyente mamayang hating gabi.
Meron one, alam ko yung Jose Reyes, aside from East Avenue and the other hospitals, are one of the
Takbuhan yan.
busiest every New Year, no? How many are expected? Well, sana naman wala. No? But realistically and based on history, how many patients due to firecracker-related injuries are expected?
Sa nakuha kasi nating data, for example, 2019,
Noon.
38 yung firework-related injuries. 2020, 19, yun nga, pandemic year pa yon. 2020, may 19 silang na-record na data.
Pandemic.
2021, 10. 2022, 34 cases. 2023, 94 cases. Last year, 2024, 118
Wow.
cases. So doon naglalaro ngayon yung numero. At ang sinasabi rin dito ni Dr. Versosa, kaya pinapaalalahanan niya, yung ibang hindi raw makakapunta sa mga ospital, ang reminder niya daw dito, habang hindi pa raw maihahatid, kung anong rason man daw yun, kaya hindi pa raw maisugod sa ospital, linisin daw maigi yung sugat, takpan daw ito. At the soonest possible time, wag daw magiging kumpiyansa na okay na daw yung paglilinis, ihatid daw sa ospital para raw mabigyan agad ito ng medical attention. And ang binibigay pa ditong assurance din ng ni Dr. Versosa, masasagot naman daw ng PhilHealth yun. Kung wala daw PhilHealth yung pasyente, meron na i-enroll daw sila. At kung hindi naman, meron naman daw iba pang financial aid na maaaring i-process dito sa ospital. So doon nila tinatansya yung numero ng posibleng fireworks-related injuries for this year. Lalo pa, karamihan daw doon sa mga nagiging kaso nga, mga menor de edad and illegal fireworks ang pinaglalaroan ng mga ito.
Okay. Marymount, kamusta naman yung room availability ng ospital na yan? Because hindi rin natin maiwasan, may iba pa tayo ibang binabantayan ng mga sakit. Ano? And of course, kamusta din yung emergency situation ngayon pa lang? Diyan, marami na bang nakapila because we passed by a certain hospital yesterday. Ang emergency room nila, siksikan na. Yesterday pa yon ha?
Angela, ang nasabi din sa atin dito ni Doc Versosa, kumpleto raw lahat ng kakailanganing gamit at may designated space sila. Hindi pa naman nagkakaroon ng problema so far. Lalo pa pagdating naman doon sa mga medical personnel, over 50 yung mga nakaantabay. Siguro na try nating makalapit. Nakasarado kasi yung pinto. Pero dito kasi, mahaba itong spot na to. Diyan yung isang area nga kung saan yung mga minor to mild and moderate, maaari nilang bigyan ng medical na atensyon. Dito sa loob, yung mga severe at saka yung mga kakailanganin ng emergency operations, surgical operations, dito yan. So far, wala pa naman sa ating naibabahagi na nagkakaroon sila ng problema dito. And magkakaalaman na lang din talaga sila mamayang kasagsagan ng pagsalubong ng bagong taon. Pero so far, ang assurance dito sa GRMMC, ready sila sa lahat ng casualties na maaaring ihatid dito sa ospital.
Alright, maraming salamat. That was our mobile journalist, Marymount Reyes, reporting live from Jose R. Reyes Memorial Medical Center in Manila.
Alright, last-minute shoppers are flocking to Bukawi, Bulacan to buy fireworks ahead of New Year's Eve celebrations. For more details, we have mobile journalist Julie Baisa. Julie, of course, alam natin, madami naghahabol ngayon bumili, no? Ano ba yung mga best-seller dyan na legal?
Palit na naman.
Diego, pinakababenta sa ngayon yung fireworks, fountain at saka mga lucis. Naglalaro sa 150 pesos hanggang 1,550 pesos yung presyo ng fountain. Sa fireworks, pinakamababa naman yung 900 pesos. Habang yung lucis naglalaro sa 50 pesos hanggang 250 pesos. Nagbaba na raw ng presyo yung ilang mga owner dito gaya nitong tindahan na ito. Yung dating 1,100 pesos na fireworks, 900 pesos na nga lang daw. Inuubos na lang daw kasi nila yung kanilang mga paninda at inaasahan nga nila na maagang makakatapos, maagang magsasara yung mga tindahan dito. Sa sandaling maubos na nga yung kanilang mga stock. Ilan sa mga nakausap naman natin, naglaan sila ng nasa 5,000 to 10,000 pesos para sa pagbili nga ng mga paputok at pailaw dito. Bahagi daw yan ng kanilang pampaswerte para sa pagpasok ng bagong taon at saka nakasanayan na rin daw kasi na magkaroon nga ng mga fireworks at fountain tuwing bagong taon. Pagdating naman sa seguridad, patuloy yung pagbabantay ng mga tauhan ng Bureau of Fire Protection dito. Hindi kalayuan dito sa hilera ng tindahan. Sa katapat lamang, nandyan naman yung mga personnel ng Bureau of Fire Protection dito sa kabilang tapat. Nakaantabay sila sakaling nga magkaroon ng sunog at nag-iikot din sila dito kahapon nga daw or the other day merong isang nagtangkang magsindi ng sigarilyo kaya agad nilang inawat, agad na isinumbong sa kanila kasi napakadelikado pero napag-alaman kasi na foreigner daw yung magsasindi dapat ng sigarilyo dito kaya pinaalalahanan sila. And ang BFP din kasi umiikot sila, meron silang mga leaflet na ipinamimigay sa mga namimili dito. Ito yung leaflet. Ayan. So nakasulat dito sa leaflet, kung hindi daw maiiwasan na bumili ng paputok at pailaw, siguraduhin daw na sa mga rehistrado lang or registered na tindahan bumili. Gaya nga nitong hilera ng mga tindahan na ito kasi lahat sila may permit at lahat daw sila compliant doon sa pagkakaroon ng fire extinguisher at saka ng isang drum ng tubig sa harapan ng kanilang tindahan. So requirement yan para ma-make sure nga na sakali magkaroon man ng apoy, ng sunog, maapula ka agad. Bukod naman doon, ilan pa sa paalala na nakalagay dito sa leaflet, isa kung may paputok na hindi sumabog, maghintay daw, wag na daw tangkain ulit na sindihan yan, maghintay ng 15 to 20 minutes bago buhusan ng tubig at saka i-dispose na maayos kasi delikado nga kung tatangkain ulit na sindihan. Pero ang paalala at paghikayat nila of course sa public, kung maaari wag nang bumili at magturotot na lang daw at gumamit ng mga alternatibong pailaw. Kanina maraming nakahilerang turotot dito pero kasi dumating tayo 6 a.m. unti-unti rin nauubos at nababawasan at lumilipat din yung mga tendero sa iba pang mga hilera ng tindahan dito.
Julie, yung nabanggit mo kanina, no, yung mga registered shops lang na pwede magtinda. Sabi rin kasi ng DTI na may special markings dapat nakikita at very visible sa public yung registration nila to sell. And aside from that, yung actual pailaw or paputok, meron din daw sticker yan, I understand?
Yes, may mga sticker at saka yung mga permit kasi nila. Kanina yung isa sa mga nakausap nating may-ari, pinakita niya yung permit nila. Pero yung BFP daw kasi consistently, iniikot nila ito kasi ito yung mga pinakakilalang bilihan talaga ng puputok dito. Iniikot nila, minimake sure nila na may permit lahat. At again, hindi daw mabibigyan ng permit or license yung mga yan kung wala sila nung mga, hindi nila namimit yung requirement na ipinatutupad ng LGU. And aside from BFP, kanina nakita na nating umikot dito yung mga tauhan ng Philippine National Police. Nagkasagawa daw sila ng surprise inspection para ma-make sure na wala naman nagbebenta ng mga ipinagbabawal na paputok gaya ng Piccolo, Plapla at saka Super Lolo at marami. Mahaba yung listahan ng binabantay ang mga paputok.
Julie Barza, ako naman, I want to clear lang, of course, para sa ating viewers ngayon na yung permit na binibigay para dito sa mga legit na nagtitinda ng mga paputok ay for physical stores only, wala for online.
Yung hilera dito, yung mga nakausap natin for physical, yung permit na meron sila. Hindi rin sila nagbebenta online kasi ang sabi nga nila dito pa nga lang daw. Halos kukulangin na yan kapag bumugso pa yung mga mamimili mamaya.
We would just like to remind kasi everybody na, 'di ba, yung kung baka sa online hindi naman talaga nagbibigay ng permit, do ba, ang pamahalaan para makapagbenta ng paputok at hindi safe.
Kanina, Angela, ang sabi ng PNP nang nakausap natin, yung kanilang ACG o yung anti-cybercrime group, nagkakaroon din daw ng cyber patrol, kumbaga, para dun sa mga nagtatangka naman na magbenta online.
Alright, thank you, mobile journalist Julie Baiza. Happy New Year.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Looking back, 2025 was a year of upheaval, a year shaped by high-profile crimes, sharp political divides, and public outrage, events that redefined the country's political and social climate. Former President Rodrigo Duterte was arrested following developments in the International Criminal Court's case on alleged crimes against humanity, a move that deeply divided public opinion. In Congress, impeachment complaints against Vice President Sara Duterte advanced in the House, intensifying political tensions and debates on accountability. Mid-year, Filipinos went to the polls in a highly charged midterm election, reshaping the balance of power and political alliances. Public anger resurfaced over the missing Sabongeros case as new testimonies and Senate inquiries renewed calls for justice. Allegations of billion-peso corruption and flood control projects followed, triggering protests and exposing deep governance issues. Amid the turmoil, leadership changes took place in Congress and the cabinet. Tensions also emerged within the First Family, drawing wide public attention. The year ended with fierce debates over the national budget, capping a turbulent year in Philippine governance.
Joining us this morning is Antonio Contreras, political scientist and professor at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. Good morning, Prof. Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us.
Happy New Year, magandang umaga.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Prof. Well, at least in my recent memory of events that have been happening in this country, I think 2025 was one of the busiest for all of us, with a lot of issues and turmoil. Would you agree, Prof?
Yes, actually, you mentioned one adjective that aptly describe it. It's turbulent. Turbulent, exciting in a way. Very, very fluid, very dynamic. And yet, the thing is, what is good about what's happening right now is that despite the turbulence and the uncertainty, there is no widespread demand for regime change. That is something
That's
that
right.
is interesting because based on surveys, people still, despite the fact that democracy is flawed, despite all the problems, despite the plummeting, the under the water trust ratings of the president, there is no clamor for extra constitutional change.
Well, we've seen the great divide nga of public opinion, especially on usapan ng politics noong 2025. So, having said that, sa 2026, do you see something that will, carry over? Ano po yung nakikita natin that would carry over from 2025 to 2026?
Well, the administration is promising that the much delayed arrests of big fish would come. They're saying that in January, after New Year, the people who are expected to be jailed will be jailed. And we do also expect the resurrection of the impeachment complaint against the vice president. So that those are the things that we have to watch out for. And of course, we have all these extraneous noises coming from, for example, Leandro Leviste, all these other things. The
Right.
issue of corruption will continue to hound us. But at the same time, this is also an opportunity for the government to really prove that even if delayed, they're doing something about it.
Yeah, you mentioned, we were talking about yung carryovers, no, Prof? Next year, sa tingin nyo ba, like all other issues in different countries, magkakaroon din ng tipping point ang public with regards to corruption? Or do you think we've seen the peak of it already this last few months?
Like I said earlier, I think iba kasi ang kultura ng Pilipino. And Pilipino, mag-iingay, naandyan sa social media. But takot pa rin tayo na magkaroon ng extra constitutional change. So that when we talk about tipping points, it is also always related to extra constitutional changes or something that is going to be dramatic and bloody, or something that is going to be speedy and fast. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. In fact, the narrative might even change with the impeachment of Sara Duterte, with all these things, the arrest of Bato de la Rosa. It might shift back to the eye of the people, might go to the other side. It's like a pendulum swinging. Now, ang napag-iinitan yan, napagdidiskitahan ng administrasyon. Dahil sa mga pinangako nito na may makukulong, wala pa namang nakukulong na malaking
That's
isda.
right.
Pero pag mag-shift na naman papunta doon sa kabila, at naandyan na yung impeachment complaint, mapadadramatize na yung mga sinabi na ng mga whistleblower sa kabila. Also, therefore, the surveys will change. So, and what is important is that the enduring the enduring dislike of people on extra constitutional change. Because the alternative is for them worse. You know, this is something that is really interesting, you know.
Yeah.
That's true.
You see the plummeting of the ratings of the president to -3, right? It's underwater. Nandun siya kasama ang Little Mermaid sa ilalim ng dagat. Underwater. And yet, what you see is also people don't see Sara Duterte's alternative despite
Yun.
the fact that 56% trust her, well, so to speak.
Oo.
So yun yung irony nito malaki ang trust sa kanya pero ayaw naman magpalit, 'di ba? Kasi nga alam naman natin na complicated ang hindi black and white ang politika sa Pilipinas.
Well, I would like to, would you agree that 2025 is the year of the people? Tayo, yung mga ordinaryong tao, because of what happened, yung paglalabas po ng issue ng maanumalyang flood control projects, and that this probably drove for the call of accountability, transparency, year of the resibo, kumbaga, 'di ba? So, would you think this is going to be the norm moving forward? Hindi na tayo babalik doon sa, dumating tayo sa point kasi, Prof, na halos sambahin na ng tao ang mga politiko, 'di ba? Lahat hingin natin sa kanila, etc. So, do you think this is going to be the norm moving forward?
Well, I think if there is one thing that I can summarize 2025, it's the year of democracy.
Yeah.
Demokrasya ito talagang nakita natin ang power ng mga tao magsalita, ng social media, minsan irresponsable na pero at least nagsasalita. At naandun yung naratibo na, when Marcos was elected, there was this fear or this narrative that he's just going to be Duterte extension or a Marcos Sr. 2.0, right? That is the fear about dictator was being painted. And he's not a dictator right now. Look at, kung diktador yan, walang mangyayaring ganito, right? Ang irony nito, yung mga tao gusto siya maging diktador kasi gusto magpakulong agad, gusto i-shortcut ng due process. But I think that's the thing that is coming out of here. Despite all the rough edges, despite all the painful debates and toxicity, we still manage to come out and say we are a democracy. People have voices. It's noisy, it's unpredictable, but at the same time, there is an assurance that people are free to speak up. To a point that even the responsible ones are allowed a space. May mga tao namang dapat patahimikin sa totoo lang. I don't mean in a negative way in terms of violence, but there's a need for people to just shut up. But people just don't shut up.
Exactly.
So, minsan nakakadagdag ng gulo
Exactly.
So, but I think that is something that this is the silver lining. This is the celebration of democracy. People are getting a lot of opportunities to get civics education right now. Napag-uusapan ano ba yung budget insertion, ano ba yung
Exactly.
budget process.
That's true.
So nagkakaroon ng opportunity na magkakaroon kami mga political scientists, yung mga gusto namin ituturo namin sa classroom, na ituturo na rin, slowly, sometimes may mga nagdi-disinform, nagpe-peddle ng disinformation, but it now gives opportunity for people who really want to teach and
Exactly.
inform people a space to inform them about governance.
And there's an interest kasi among the public
Yeah,
about it, di ba?
that's what I wanted to ask, Prof. No? One thing that dami nag-uusapan din nito sa mga forum is one thing that this year has taught a lot is to be interested in what is happening in the government, what is happening in our lives, to a point na being rich has come to be a negative negative connotation for a lot, and being prudent, being responsible, parang umiibabaw na ngayon.
Yes, and I think dito rin magandang pag-usapan yung challenge sa atin. Ako bilang educator, bilang analyst, kayo nasa media, it's an opportunity challenge for us to become vehicles of understanding and instead of disinformation. Kasi marami din talagang kumakalat na mga disinformation, and unfortunately, this does not help. But I think it's an opening for us. For example, give you a specific example if I may be given some time for it. Budget insertions. Dinidemonize natin ng budget insertion. In fact, budget insertion is a normal process in legislative work. It's a form of amendment. So there is a need to explain that to people.
Exactly.
Now, there is this demonization of what allocable means. Na para bagang pag may allocable ka, corrupt ka na. When in fact, I study this very well right now. Allocable, that ledger that is being peddled by Leandro Leviste is actually a budget placeholder. It's a planning tool.
Yes.
Kasi pag magbabudget ka, maglalagay ka, ina-anticipate mo na siguro, nasanay na si Cabral na kinukulit sila lagi ng mga congressman. So kung ikaw ay strategic planner, uunahan mo na yan. Maggagawa ka na ng table, lagay mo na saan yung na-anticipate mo kung hihingin ito para pagdating sa panahon, hindi ka na ilang makulit. So, that is a planning activity. And yet, people think of budget and sessions and allocable as necessarily evil and bad. So it is an opportunity for us, a challenge for us, to explain to people that not necessary. The evil comes when how you spend it.
Oo.
Hindi ba,
Yeah,
yun ang
yeah.
yun ang
I was
masama.
gonna say
Ang
that.
masama, hindi masamang magbigay ka ng pera. Ang masama, paano ginastos yung pera.
Paano at saan? That's why
Yes,
that's
exactly.
where we fail actually, no, in some points na hindi natin kumbaga nalo-lost in translation tayo pagdating dito sa usapin ng budget because nga may mga certain terms na nade-demonize,
Exactly.
'di ba? Anyway, I want to ask you then about of course you mentioned kanina yung survey, mababa yung survey ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos and medyo mataas, no, yung trust approval kay VP Sara, pero the president himself sabi niya wala naman daw siyang pakialam dito sa mga ratings na to. But in reality, does he need to care about these things?
Well, the thing is about the beauty of our system where the president is not running for re-election is that he doesn't have to care anymore about service. You know, he's practically termed out in 2028. So it gives him the opportunity to just mind the legacy that is going to leave. Because surveys are what the snapshot of what's happening right now. He might be unpopular now, but pag naramdaman na ng tao yung ginagawa niya later, babago yan, pero meron niyang lead time. Surveys are, after all, just snapshots of the opinions of people. The other thing that I think need to be explained, kasi karamihan sa surveys are using concepts like trust, approval, satisfaction, mga concepts yan na Amerikano and Western. Trust, acceptance, performance rating, approval. Ang titingnan natin, paano ba mag-isip ang ordinaryong mamamayan? Paano ba niya itinatranslate ang tiwala, ang approval? Ano bang iba pang approval sa trust? Samantala sa ordinaryong mamamayan, minsan pareho lang yan.
Yeah.
Di ba? So, and the other thing is, regarding, for example, there is a survey that people would like to ban political dynasties. Di ba? Merong lumabas na survey ang Pulse Asia na gano'n. But for me, ang tanong ko dyan, naiintindihan ba nila kung ano yung political dynasty? Naiintindihan ba nila kung anong ibaban? Naiintindihan ba nila ang implikasyon yan? So, I think the issue is we're asking people to render opinion on something that they may not fully understand. So, and therefore, if we're going to not explain that, then they were peddling political illiteracy. We're providing oxygen to political illiteracy. So sa akin, mas importante kasi, and challenge ito sa mga survey firms, kalata man yung kaibigan ko, magkaroon kayo ng cross-tabulation. Sabihin nyo, ilan doon sa nagsabi na gusto nilang palitan ng dynasty, naintindihan nila. Di ba? Para alam mo na maraming tao ang nag-opinion lang nila, yung mema, kung tawagin natin sa ordinaryo sa mga mema, may masabi lang. Kasi ang isa, di ba? Ang usually yung mema, yun ang lumalabas sa narrative di ba?
That's right. Prof, itong last few years, I think 3 years ni PBBM, no, we've seen him gain, ang tawag nila doon is silent screamers or silent supporters from the yellow or the pink, pero hindi pa vocal about it, supporting him. Ngayon that he's entering the tail end of his presidency and nagiging lame duck na, do you see the importance now na maging mas vocal ang mga yellows and pinks in support of PBBM? Mukhang ganun patungo going to the election
Well, I'm going to say something na pilyo o noti this new year. I think what will really stop our Duterte 2.0, which many hate, may gusto lang naman ng Duterte 2.0 yung mga DDS. I think what will stop a Duterte 2.0 is if BBM will endorse a pink or yellow candidate.
So he has to be the one to endorse.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's what's going to change the equation, and perhaps have a running mate which is from Mindanao to necessarily address the fact that Mindanao is the solid base of the Sara Duterte. So siguro yun ang una, kasi ang sinasabi ko yan ngayon na kapag si BBM ang endorso niya ay liberal progressive, it will force the Marcos loyalists to vote.
That's
So
right.
sino man yun. Diba, loyalista sila Kung anong sabihin ni Pangulong Marcos, gagawin nila. At the same time, it will also deny the pinks and the yellows, the oxygen to be elitist and exclusionary. Sasabihin, hindi naman pwedeng hindi nila supportan, for example, si Lenny, dahil in-endorso lang ni BBM.
It's true.
Right?
That's right.
That's true.
So it's going to force these two, kasi right now, if you're going to follow mathematics, electoral math, Sara has a very strong hold on Mindanao and
Yes.
some of the Cebuano votes, and that's about 30%. Unassailable yan eh. Yan ang base niya, pero upper bound naman niya yan.
Exactly.
There is still the 70%, except ang 70% gusto mag-field ng mga kandidato. Di wala.
That's right, oo.
Nangyari in a
Kalat-kalat.
multiple candidates election, may lamang si Sara. Pero kung ang mangyayari, BBM will endorse a pink or yellow candidate, it might just change the tide.
It's interesting
So,
you said that, Prof. BBM would endorse a pink or yellow kasi ang mindset ng iba is yung pink or yellow would endorse a PBBM candidate. Ngayon, based on what you said, do you think, kasi Lenny pinag-uusapan niya, but there's a dark horse na pinag-uusapan. Do you think bomb shelter o malaking bagay if a Marcos endorses a Aquino for a presidency?
Well, that could be like Aquino. Bam, Aquino is also yellow, remember? So, whether it's Bam or Risa or Lenny, as long as may basbas ng PBBM.
And that's the
It'll
only
be a good
way to beat a
combination.
Duterte.
Yeah.
Well, sabi ko nga, a few years ago, you wouldn't see this, no? Marcos and
And
the
Aquino.
Yellows working together. Diba? Pero it really changed the
tides.
dynamics nitong
Well,
ngayong
that's
2025.
that's the politics of it all.
Yeah.
It's not about the ideal. It's about stopping the worst outcome.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Pero ang tanong dito kasi sino yung opposition eh? Who's the real opposition? At saka ngayon, sino yung pwede
Sino
talaga
ba talaga?
na lumaban against sa Duterte in the coming election?
I think
Ngayon,
it's not
parang wala
about
pa.
anymore about opposition and administration. It's about avoiding a disaster. It's about
So you
it's
mean
about
Duterte
containment.
is a
I think.
disaster,
It's an existential threat for some.
Let's clear that. Do you think that Duterte is a disaster?
A Duterte presidency.
Oo.
Well, I'm known to be a critic, so I will say yes, because we have seen what happened before, and we are already seeing a preview of what could happen now with the behavior of the vice president.
Yeah. What I want
So I don't know. I want to be gracious on New Year's Eve. I don't want to say something bad, but nakikita naman natin kung anong behavior ng mga tao. So it's predictable.
I'd like to ask you, Prof, na about yung PBBM and the legacy he's trying to build. Initially, when he won, ang daming natakot kasi he could be the son of his father. But apparently, he has plenty traits that endeared him to the yellows and pinks. Do you think moving forward, PBBM would have created his own legacy and not really clean his father's legacy, but established his own?
Yes, I think so. I think it's a good way to characterize him. He's no longer just his father's son.
That's right.
He's no longer just Duterte's successor. He's on his own. Of course, he's basically paying the price. Underwater ang kanyang rating. But, he's practically the whistleblower of his own government when he spoke about corruption in the flood
That's
control
right, Prof.
projects.
He will be known as the president who fought corruption, a Marcos who fought corruption.
Exactly. And then he's paying the price for it because his sister is against him. Right.
Well, for the sake of fairness, of course, we would also like to tackle yung mga promises of PBBM administration na hindi masyado
Nag-pan out.
natupad or hindi natutupad until now. Of course, yung 20 pesos sa kilo na bigas, there is, pero superficial because it's not in the market. It is given by the administration itself. And of course, itong pangako na magkakaroon ng big fish na makukulong before Christmas. No? So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's not perfect. That's what I'm saying. Stop making promises you could not keep. But, I think, and of course, there are many other things that I would like to disagree with his administration. Specifically, for example, the DNR, because I am from the environment sector,
Right.
so I have a lot of problems with the manner our environment is being governed right now. And of course, our tourism industry is going down the pits, I think time to replace the Department of Tourism Secretary, I think, to be fair. Not because I have something against the secretary, but there has to be a new blood. we are been complaining about tayo yung kulelat sa Southeast Asia kasi nakikipag-compete kasi tayo sa game ng mall-centric, hotel-centric tourism. Hindi yan ang ating
Yes.
sabi ko nga we should go into the slow immersive type of tourism. We should convert our disadvantages into advantages, you know. So mga ganun, marami akong problema sa administrasyon. But right now, it seems that these things need to, I'm not saying ignored. They have to still be addressed. But there is a more existential problem that we're facing right
But
now.
do you think he's going to be successful and until his presidency ends, in terms of running after the so-called personalities involved in the anomalous flood control project?
Well, it all depends on him. But with the signs that are coming out, he doesn't care if he has low ratings. Number one. Number two, doesn't even care whether his family will be hurt. You know, yun lang fact na yung kapatid mong babaeng senadora ay inaaway ka na. Wala siyang, he doesn't mind that. Yung speaker, dating speaker na kamag-anak mo, ayan, nasa firing line. I think, I think that's, sabi ko nga, that is the blessing of having a president who is not running for re-election anymore. You can focus your last 3 years on your legacy. You don't care anymore.
What other...
about winning
Yes, that's right.
an election.
And given that, Prof, you said he doesn't care anymore about winning. Well, alam natin yan kasi end stages na ng presidency niya. So what other things well, he was talking about kasi restoring some of his father's projects na hindi pa natin nakikita, no? We haven't seen progress sa Maharlika also as well. So itong tail end ng 3 years, do you see him pushing more of the Ferdinand Marcos Sr.'s other legacy projects na ginawa niya before?
Well, I think so. Yes, I think he will focus on that, and I think there is one legacy that he wants to bring, which is ironically still about democracy. Is that despite the fact that his surname has been identified with dictatorship and authoritarianism, that he is the one who's going to also spare us from another 6 years of a bad, terrifying president who is going to violate human rights. So yun yung magiging legacy niya, yung fact na yung corruption siya ang nag-address, at pangalawa, kung magawa niya yung masolidify niya yung for the lack of a better word, anti-Duterte renaissance force, then I think that is something that in history books will be written. He will be written. Something kind will be written about him.
And I'd like to ask this lang, you mentioned about human rights, and we all know si FPRRD is now in The Hague in the ICC. And PBBM will also be known as the president under his watch na aresto si former President Duterte. Now, if he is tried and he is found guilty, do you think this is another legacy for PBBM, but he will be remembered kahit hindi siya directly involved sa trial?
Yeah, well, I think so. Hindi lang naman si Duterte ang nakakulong ngayon, di ba? Si Kibuloy, nakakulong din, di ba? So maraming mga akala natin dati ay hindi. And pag na-arrest din si Senator Bato de la Rosa, di ba? So those are things that will be attributed, of course, to his administration, even if you're correct in saying that, he doesn't have the direct responsibility for that. But I think, how slow the ICC cases are happening. Baka tapos na yung term ng kapapalit sa kanya, hindi pa tapos ang kaso.
But what else do you see, Prof, na nakikita po ninyo ng mga issues that really shape 2025? Of course, we had the corruption issues, we have the missing sabongero, yung itong mga political divide na ito. But other than that, kasi nakakita po din ako ng another survey na ang major concern pa rin ng mga Pilipino aside from corruption is inflation. So, what is the government doing about this? Your thoughts on that?
I think this is something that people are running for office should be mindful of. This corruption democracy fight are symbolic. We need to do it to keep the sanity of the political community. But at the end of the day, it's going to be about gut feel issues. It's about inflation. It's about prices. And so, kaya dyan namamayag pag si Sara Duterte at ang kanyang brand. Ang ina-address nila, hindi branding ng mga highfalutin democracy, ideology, corruption. They're into the thing about safety, about security of life, about livelihood. I think this is something that should also be the focus of those running against them. Nakita na natin yan sa Amerika eh. Ang usapin naman doon ay affordability eh.
Yes.
Kaya nananalo ang mga tao, hindi na identity politics eh. Eh ngayon dito dapat ganun din ang tutukan. As we have to tie corruption to affordability. Kasi kung
Right.
puro lang mga clean government ang pag-uusapan natin, dynasty, yun,
Oo.
is anti-dynasty thing.
I would always
Magandang
say that,
pag-usapan, pero pag hindi yan nakakonect doon sa ordinaryong tao, na makakain ko ba
Exactly,
yan?
oo.
Makakahanap ako ng trabaho dyan? And you know, there is even this, you know, if you're going to be anti-dynasty, and then at the local level, people see a dynasty as the one who give them jobs, and security because they are the social security. Alam mo, pag nasa local level ka, ang mga political families, they are your social security eh.
Yeah.
Yan ang tinatakbuhan mo kapag kulang ka ng pera, etc. Tapos ito ka ngayon na gusto mo silang i-abolish. Sa tingin ko, that is again the elitist stance. It's going to miss the point.
Oo.
Dapat i-connect mo yan. Bakit mo ibabawal ang dynasty kung nakalutang ka lang na yan ay creating all these things that are bad. And yet people will not relate to that because for them, importante yung makapagpadala sa kanila, magdadala ng pagkain sa mesa nila.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that is something that should be done if you're a politician campaigning for 2028. You have to go to the gut issues. You have to go to the issues of survival, issues of safety and security.
Right. No, we would always talk about that here on the show, Prof. Ano, na kahit ano pang explanation mo sa GDP growth natin, etc., kung nakakakain ba ng 3 beses ang isang pamilya sa isang araw, yun yung mas importante sa kanila, eh, no? Okay. Anyway, Prof, one last na lang po on my end. Doon po, nabanggit nyo kanina yung mga bills na ngayon na sabi nila would carry on sa 2026. That would probably one of the legacies of this administration, yung anti-political dynasty. And may isa pa, I forgot the other one. Yung nakita niyo po doon sa nabasa po ninyo na inihain mismo po ng speaker, na si House Speaker Bogie D na anti-political dynasty. Is that the anti-political dynasty that we really are looking at or we are hoping for? Or these are just optics, no? Para masabi na, oh, anti-political dynasty rin kami.
Well, it's all performative. Yun namang mga priority bills na hindi naman sinertify ni Pangulong Marcos na urgent, pero sinabi niya could be given priority. This is transparency bill, dynasty, yung ICI, creation ng IPC, you know, 4 yun. These are all, in a way, part of the ritual of assuring the people that he's doing something about it. It's now in the hands of Congress. But I think whatever you should do, kasi ang pinag-usapan yung transparency and accountability eh. Pero I think what is going to resonate more to people for the remaining 3 years of his term is truly economic bills, economic livelihood bills, things that will make people's lives better. We're going to reduce the prices of commodities. I think yun ang mas
Sweldo ng
importante
mga
sa tao.
manggagawa.
Yun ang mas importante sa tao, hindi naman, maganda pag-usapan ng ICI, hindi pag-usapan ng dynasty, marami kang masasabi, kami mga political analysts, ang daming masasabi, pero
Right.
pag walang tao, walang makain, hindi nga nila yan na importante.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Well, it's Happy New Year, Prof. Thank you for your
Happy New Year
time.
din po.
As
And
always.
your insights. Of course, that is Professor Antonio Contreras,
Thank you
political
po. Thank you for
scientist
having me.
at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. Don't go away. We're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. And now let's check the situation at the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange just hours before New Year's celebrations. We have mobile journalist Evan Tarinque. Evan, madami pa bang passengers dyan o medyo humuhupa na?
Si Mr. PITX.
O Mr.
Yes.
PITX?
Yes, Diego, Angela. No? Sa mga oras na ito, kumonte yung mga pasahero dito sa PITX. No? Ilang oras nga bago yung pagsalubong ng bagong taon. Ikot ko kayo ngayon kung ano yung current situation dito. No? Nung matatandaan nyo, this past few days, no, makikita natin, yung pila pa lang sa entrance, mahaba na yan, lumaabot pa yan sa labas. Pero currently, makikita natin talagang maluwag pa at iilan pa lang yung mga pumapasok dyan. Pagdating naman dito, kung matatandaan nyo, pag dating sa part na to, lalo na to sa may gate na to, sa gate 5 na ito, talagang shoulder to shoulder yung mga pasahero. Pero ngayon, iba yung itsura niya ngayon, no? Maluwag na maluwag at maraming mga bakanteng upuan na pwedeng maupuan ng mga kapatid natin na babiyahe ngayong araw. Ito, makikita natin, maraming bakanteng upuan at yung mga pasahero, iilan lang yan. No? Sobrang ang laki ng contrast niyan the past few days, no? Na kung saan talagang punong-puno ito ng mga pasahero. Pero para sa ilan, no, yung mga nakausap natin kanina, ngayong araw sila bumiyahe dahil parang umabot sila mamayang gabi na sa kanilang pagsalubong ng bagong taon sa kanilang mga probinsya. May ilan naman tayong mga nakausap na ngayong araw bumalik ng Manila dahil na-expect nga nila na pagdating bukas at January 1, pahirapan na rin yung mga pagkuha ng ticket na pabalik naman ng Metro Manila. Pero paalala naman din sa mga babiyahe ngayong araw na i-check muna yung mga bus companies na kanilang sasakyan dahil maraming mga bus companies ngayong araw yung walang biyahe o kaya naman limited lang yung kanilang mga biyahe ngayong araw. And paalala na rin dun sa mga kapatid natin pupunta dito sa terminal, pinagbabawal pa rin yung mga matulis na bagay, flammable materials dahil currently kanina may mga nakompiska na mga paputok, no? Bawal po yan dito sa loob ng terminal. At kahapon nga around 40 na paputok yung na-confiscate ng mga otoridad at umaabot nga sa around 400 na yung overall na total ng mga ipinagbabawal na na-confiscate dito sa loob ng terminal. At yung mga na-confisca na yan, hindi na yan babalik doon sa mga may-ari at ito turn over na nga yan sa mga otoridad. Diego Angela.
Alright, maraming salamat, mobile journalist Evan Tarinque reporting live from PITX.
Authorities are monitoring traffic conditions on NLEX amid the expected surge of holiday travelers. Let's get the latest from Mobile Journal Francis Rivera. Francis, kamusta na ang traffic situation from where you're at?
Good morning, Angela and Diego. Ngayon, andito tayo sa NLEX Balintawak Toll Plaza. At kung makikita nyo sa aking likuran, tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang daloy ng trapiko at banayad pa rin. No? At bahagya lamang nagkakaroon nga ng pila doon sa mga cash lane. So, ngayon ay may mga pasahero pa rin o yung mga kapatid natin, yung mga motorista na patuloy pa rin naman yung pagpapakabit ng RFID dito sa kanilang customer service center sa Balintawak. Ano? At yun nga yung paalala at pangiinganyo nila na sa mga motorista na dadaan sa mga toll plaza na hanggat maaari kung wala pa kayong cash lane, magpakabit na dahil umiiral na rin naman yung unified RFID para mas banayad o mas smooth yung biyahe ninyo papunta sa inyong mga probinsya. Pero dito sa NLEX Balintawak Toll Plaza, yung customer service center nila ay bukas mula 5 p.m. o mula 6 p.m. ngayong araw. Pero sarado sila bukas January 1. Angelo, Diego.
Kamusta naman yung mga preparation nila dyan? Kasi of course, we are expecting yung bulto no, ng mga travelers dyan sa area na yan. Especially kung naglagay ba sila ng mga ambulant tellers, kasi may mga sasakyan pa rin na hindi naglo-load ng kanila mga auto sweep, di ba?
Yes, Angela. Ngayon, doon may mga nakayantabay naman daw ng mga otoridad na handang mag-iayos kung sakaling magkaroon ng error doon sa kanilang mga RFID. So handa naman daw sila dito sa mga ganitong pagkakataon. At kaya naman yung ibang mga pasahero ibang mga biyahero ngayon, talagang pinimake sure na rin talaga nila na merong load ang kanilang mga RFID.
Okay. And ano pa yung mga preparations na inaasahan natin sa kanila dyan sa NLEX?
Yes, Angela. At ngayon nga ay patuloy naman daw ang kanilang paghahanda para doon naman sa mga magbabalik dito sa kanilang probinsya matapos nga itong pagsi-celebrate nila ng bagong taon. At isa nga dyan yung mas papaigtingin pa nila yung pagpapakabit o yung mga teller nila ay mas...
Medyo magulo yung ating linya. Go ahead lang, Francis. Go ahead.
Okay. So yun nga, Angela, no, na mas magkakaroon nga daw sila ng mas maayos at mas organisado, lalong-lalo na doon sa mga talagang crucial exits at binabantayan nila para doon sa mga uuwi naman sa ngayong pagkatapos ng holiday.
Okay, sige. Ingat ka dyan, Francis Rivera, ating mobile journalist, reporting live from NLEX. And of course, mabuhay yung mga workers natin dyan na hindi po makakapag-spend ng kanilang New Year sa kanilang pamilya para po makapag-serbisyo. Buhay po kayo. Alright, shoppers continue to crowd markets buying fruits and ingredients for Medianoche. We have mobile journalist Jazz Paredes with the latest from Pasig Public Market. Jazz, kamusta ang sitwasyon dyan?
Go, Angela, dagsa na nga yung mga last-minute shoppers dito sa Pasig Mega Market. Halos siksikan at ubusan na nga yung mga paninda dito kanina simula umaga. At syempre dahil nga sa buhos ng mga mamimili, ang una dyan sa mga listahan nila ay yung pagkumpleto dun sa 12 bilog na prutas pampaswerte sa Medianoche. At ito yung mga presyo ng ilan sa mga natanong natin ng mga bilog na prutas dito. At Angela, Jaco, napansin niya rin na malaki na rin yung naging pagtaas ng mga presyo sa mga ito. Simula daw ito kahapon, kagaya ng longga na dating 200 pesos ngayon ay 220 na per kilo. Yung kiat-kiat na dating 100 pesos per kilo ay dating 80 pesos ay ngayon ay 100 pesos na per kilo. Ang mangga na dating 180 pesos lang per kilo ngayon ay 240 pesos na. At meron din naman sa ubas na dating 240 pesos ay 280 pesos na per kilo ngayon. Habang iba namang mga sikat na bilog na prutas gaya ng bansanas at ng peras ay nananatiling 3 piraso, 100 pesos. At habang sa pakwan naman, 180 pesos ang pinakamura, melon 160 pesos per piraso. At syempre, mabenta na rin yung buko na isa sa mga sahog sa buko salad. Nagkakahalaga yan ng 200 pesos per kilo. At sabi din ng mga nagtitinda, baari doon na bumalik sa regular price itong mga presyo ng mga bilog na prutas pagtapos ng bagong taon. At ito nga, ililibot ko kayo sa kasalukuyang sitwasyon dito, Diego, Angela. Actually, dito lang tayo sa isang side ng fruit section dito sa Pasig Mega Market. Ito, at iba-iba yung mga klase ng mga bilog na prutas dito. Ito, makikita natin na may mga orange, mga ubas, ayan. Marami pa rin mga dumadating talaga dito at isang portion pa lang yan ng Pasig Mega Market. No, nasa bandang dulo bahagi pa tayo niyan, pero napakarami na ring tao talaga na nagpuntahan dito. At syempre, mabenta na rin ngayon dito yung mga pangsahog sa makulam gaya ng karne. Yung baboy ay nasa 400 pesos na per kilo. Yung baka, 480 pesos per kilo. Meron din isda, tilapia, 110 pesos per kilo. Bangus, 175 per kilo. At hipon, na 500 pesos per kilo. Pero ayun nga, Diego, Angela, sa dami nga rin ng mga nagdadagsaang mamimili dito, paulit-ulit din yung kanilang paalala na mag-ingat. Siyempre, yung mga gamit dahil puso nga yung nakawan na yung holiday season. At kanina nag-ikot-ikot tayo, nakikita rin natin na patuloy din yung pagpapatrol ng ating Pasig City Police at ilang mga barangay officials para ma-monitor at ma-secure yung security dito sa Pasig Palengke.
Alright, sige. Maraming salamat sa iyong update. That was our mobile journalist, Jazz Paredes.
Uy, Happy New Year! Umahabot din tayo, yay!
Seryo ba to?
Thank you, I'd like to say thanks to the, hindi ako
Sino?
sasayaw kahit na.
Sino?
Thank you to the entire team.
Of
Oo,
course.
itong mga magigiting na News and Views team. Direct Marvin, di ba? Si Elmer, si JR, si Lalaine, si
Sino
Thea,
pa?
si Jenaline.
Si Thea, congratulations, Thea.
Congratulations, Thea.
Si Bong.
Si Bong. Si Bart.
Oo.
Oo.
Si Ayen, si
Oo.
Christine,
Susan.
si Susan, nandito ngayon.
Si Carlo,
of course, ang ating EP.
Ang ating
Si JR.
Si
Sino pa ba mga natin, di ba?
si lahat yan. And it's nice to approach another new year, di ba? Na tignan natin ano pang issues ang babantayan natin this year.
Magbabago na ba sila?
Magbabago sila.
Ikaw magbabago ka na?
Magbabago na ako. Hindi. Ikaw ang magbago. Kung alam mo. Ikaw ang magbago. But thank you to all our viewers who supported us throughout this 2025. from the Duterte issues all the way to elections, diba, all the way to what's happening now. Hindi kayo
busy
bumitaw
year.
sa amin. And this year promises to be another exciting year for us here at One News.
Here in News and Views, lagi tayo naaabutan ng mga breaking stories.
So,
yung, di ba, pag-aresto kay, kay former President Duterte, kay Buloy, etc.
Sa Bungeros issue, di ba? Ayun. And with that, no, I'd like to, well, we've been talking about the new year and time for moving on, di ba? And I'd like to share a quote with everyone. A favorite quote natin and favorite quote din ng airpat ko, di ba? My late Angelo Castro Jr. And I think a few weeks before he died, he left everyone with a quote that goes, "Move on, it's just a chapter in your life. Don't close the book, just turn the page." In other words, ang habang buhay ka pa, wag mo isara ang libro, lipat mo lang yung pahina para hindi mo na makita ang mga mukha ng mga korap.
Pero patuloy na magmatsyag.
Alright.
Sabi nga nila, di ba?
Oo.
Hintayin natin yung mga mangyayari sa 2026.
Alright, and that wraps up this year's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagusad Castro.
Join us again next year. And I'm Angelo
See you
Castro
next year.
III. Kapatid, we are One News.
All sides, all the time.
See you next year. Happy New Year.